Hello, everybody. I wanted to shoot a quick State of the Chiefs video, talk about how rookie minicamps are going, what we've done with UDFAs, kind of just get everybody caught up, where our head count is as far as the roster goes, um, give some quick takes on some of the UDFAs and rookie invites, veteran invites as well. So we'll take a quick look at all the different position groups. It's not obviously a 90-man roster. It's going to be a lot more players to look at. I'm not going to speak to all of them because, to be honest, a fair amount of the UDFAs will probably get a good chance at making the 90-man because there's still some just room for it. But a lot of the rookie invites are probably not going to make it, not as many at least. And then same with the veteran invites. So we'll take a look at, recap what we did with the draft real quick too. But ultimately, it should be pretty short, concise video to the point. That's the goal anyway. All right, so we'll start off by looking at the draft, how we did last weekend, positions we filled. We'll take a look at what we have overall sitting on the roster right now with all the rookie minicamp invites, how much cap space we have, or I'm projecting that we'll have, and then we'll go position by position through all the positions that I don't feel like are locked up, and then we'll take a look at the top UDFAs and other tiers of players that we have available on the team. So obviously this slide is a bit more of a reminder slide. We took Xavier Worthy out of Texas, the speedster with a 4.2 140, Kingsley Suamatea at the left tackle, at least that's presumably where he'll play, 31 bench press reps, great. Jared Wiley out of TCU, many are calling baby Kelsey, and I think incorrectly. I don't think he quite has the mental passion and everything Kelsey has for the game of football, but I think he's going to be one hell of a player for us. Jaden Hicks, hard-hitting safety out of Washington State. Hunter Norzad, a player that, I'm just leaving at center, but honestly he'll be able to play guard or tackle. So give us some good depth piece, kind of like our Allegretti player. And then we'll talk about Kamal Haddon. He's the only cornerback that we actually took for specifically cornerback to try and make up maybe for Snead, but we have a really good UDFA that's going to give him a run for his money as well. And then as well CJ Hansen, a guard that we took to help give us some depth along the offensive line. All right, so here on this slide you can see it goes down how much we actually have currently if you actually totaled up the whole roster as if it was all these players were actually on the roster. They're not. Some of them are just invites. Those invites can turn into roster positions afterwards. We'll just have to wait and see if anybody's able to pull that off. As it is right now, I'm not going to cover the quarterback. I don't have a slide for quarterbacks. I don't have a slide for kickers. And I don't have a slide for long snappers. Butker's perfectly safe. He's locked in. Winchester's locked in. And obviously we're going to have Wentz and Mahomes at quarterback. So I won't speak too much to them. We'll keep maybe some of those players potentially on just to give us some depth play for training camp and whatnot. But we'll stick to the other positions and go into them a little bit more in detail. All right. So I will say, last time I pulled over the cap and looked at the cap space, it was over 20 million. Now it's at 16 million. A few things have happened. Obviously, we released some players. Only one of them really had any real significant dead cap to them. That was Miller at wide receiver. So that actually hasn't hit dead money as of yet. So I'm not quite sure what all has happened to lower the cap space. But assuming it's accurate, we have about 16 million in cap space. Again, I went very, very conservative with my rookie cap space hits. It's going to be less than that for sure. And so, we're looking at a worst case scenario. We have 5 million left. I'd say that 3 million's already started to take a toll because of, again, Miller getting cut. But overall, we are in one of the best shapes of any team in the NFL. Second best dead money available, or that it was spent. Dead money is just money you're paying players to not even be on your team. Best was the Rams. So we'll see how that actually shakes out by the end of, when the 53-man rosters are set. But obviously it's a very well-managed team, so we do a good job of trying to keep that number down. Running back is a position that we're definitely in need of finding someone that's going to make the team. Whether that, obviously, we feel pretty confident that it's going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and then it'll be Isaiah Pacheco. But who would be the third or fourth back even? It's possible we could carry four, just out of lack of confidence in what the guys can do. You got Luis Rees-Zammit, at least in this field, although he's a hybrid of running back and wide receiver. You have a veteran like LaMichael Pirine that could be on the squad. Keontae Ingram, we never really got to see what he could do. And then we have some really interesting UDFAs. I like Carson Steele out of UCLA. He's built like a tank, scored 14 touchdowns last year. I could see us potentially keeping him on and putting him in more of a fullback role, which would be nice to get a fullback back in Andy Reid's system. And then Imani Bailey out of TCU had a great year last year. Definitely could push for trying to make the squad. Benjamin is somebody that people are watching pretty closely as a potential person to really push to try and make the squad as well. So this is one of the more interesting rooms, at least across the different levels as far as, UDFAs, rookies invited to minicamp, and then NFL vets. So I don't think there's another room that actually has that much into it. On here, I have 4 wide receivers locked in right now. Those would be the obvious ones. Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice. I think Justin Watson, in my opinion, is a lock. And then obviously we just drafted Xavier Worthy. So he'll be a hit. A player to watch out for, in my opinion, is Reggie Brown. I'll talk a little bit more about him in the final slide. But, we have a good amount, I think roughly 19 players that are in at wide receiver at the rookie mini camps this weekend. To me, this is a little less exciting of a room. I think you're going to have, we kept 3 tight ends last year. I think we'll keep 4 this year. I don't think Noah Gray's going anywhere, or Irv Smith. There's, some dead cap with them, as well as, we're going to be bringing Jared Wiley along a little bit slowly. So I think you're going to see those 4, TK, Noah Gray, Irv Smith Jr., and Jared Wiley make the team. Along the offensive line, that's where it gets a little bit more interesting. Who we keep, who we don't keep. Niang could possibly be a cap casualty here with all the talent we brought in at offensive line. There were some back-end guys that I really like the picks. Hunter Norzad is a really interesting one that can play across the board. He can be our new Allegretti. So I think a lot of Chiefs fans would be happy to see that. C.J. Hansen, we'll see how he pans out in minicamp and everything. And then we brought in quite a bit of talent, actually, for UDFAs as well. So, we'll just see how that one shakes out. It's a lot of room, and we have a lot of positions available, basically, to fill. The only one that's guaranteed, in my opinion, would be Kingsley Suamataia and then Hunter Norzad. Anything else is 2 spots left for people to grab. So, it should be an interesting room to watch. I don't have a heck of a lot to say along the defensive end room. We didn't sign any UDFAs, which I think is kind of telling that they're pretty happy with their defensive end room, at least. The one I would say of note, and I'll talk about him in the final slide, is Yabi Oki Anoma. And at defensive end, he's kind of been all over the place, and NCAA had some trouble he's gotten into, but he has a lot of talent, and he has kind of the pedigree to be an NFL defensive end, but we'll have to wait and see. It's kind of a similar story when I'm looking at the defensive tackle room. Fabian Levitt, he was expected to be drafted, and he's a great scheme player to be able to stop the run. That's something the Chiefs have not done very well at in recent years, and he'd be a valuable pick for us at that point. So he's someone who I could really potentially see making the team. Some decent rookie minicamp invites too, Mario Kendricks being one of them. But, it's going to be a hard room to crack. We've already pretty much filled most of the slots. I could see, a couple of these veterans getting cut and moved to the practice squad to be fresh and available at the end of the season. But, it's a little too early to tell. Now, we actually brought in quite a few linebackers to compete for positions. We already cut Cole Christensen, so I'm not too surprised to see, that we weren't happy enough with our linebacker room. We kept 6 last year, and we're already down to 5 only that are either drafted or were already on the roster. So there's definitely a spot or 2 potentially to be had. Curtis Jacobs is definitely a front runner out of the gate. and I've heard some good things about Swayze Bozeman as well. I personally don't know much about him, but those would be a couple interesting prospects from the linebacker room. Honestly, when I see the defensive backs, I just think Spags and Merritt are just going to have a field day. They're just throwing so much talent into that room. I think Kamal Haddon is like a lock. He's a brilliant selection where we were able to get him. And on top of that, you have Miles Battle coming in here to compete for a role too, along with a couple other UDFAs. We'll probably keep all those guys, for training camp and preseason, and we'll see who shakes out and actually makes the team. But it's going to be an interesting battle to see, because I think Kamal Haddon and Miles Battle are studs, and I like a lot of the guys that we have on the team already, so should be an interesting room. So trying to keep this quick and easy. Obviously, I really like the veterans we have here. Adding Jaden Hicks was an absolute steal in the draft. Could be one of my favorite picks in the entire draft. He seems really pumped. He loves football. He's ready to get in there and play. And I've heard some good things from reports out of the rookie minicamp on Derek Sluika. I'm sure I didn't pronounce that right, but it's the best I can do. He's playing really hard and maybe a little too hard in non-contact drills, but something coaches like to see. So we'll see. Maybe he'll make it through to at least a 90-man roster. Final position to discuss is punter. And really the biggest thing is it's competition in there for Matt Ariza. Contracts will be roughly the same either way. I will say one thing that's, I think, on the top of minds of everybody for punter is how well they'll hold the ball for Butker, if that's going to impact Butker. That could be even a tipping point that could go in Ryan's way. Ariza's left-handed, so not sure how that works as far as holding, but it's something to keep an eye on as training camp keeps going along. I'm not going to speak too long on any of these players. Curtis Jacobs is a guy who has a lot of athletic talent that hasn't quite put his whole game together yet, but could be somebody to fill in the need that Willie Gay's left behind. Athletic guy, so somebody to keep an eye on. I already just spoke to Ryan Reckow from at a punter. Carson Steele, I think, could be a third down back, fullback type. Amani Bailey, both of those guys could potentially make the team. You never know. Ethan Driscoll out of Marshall, he's a talented offensive tackle that could give us a little more tackle depth. If the Chiefs decide to go that route, filling out, I think they're going to keep 10 offensive linemen. Reggie Brown is a 1,000-yard receiver out of James Madison. Really intriguing prospect. So he's somebody who could, if we keep 6 receivers, potentially contend for that. So I mentioned Yabi Yoki Onoma already. If he, they trust that he's matured and he's really moved past a lot of his personal struggles that he's had when he was at Alabama and Tennessee Martin and the other myriad of schools, I think Michigan, before he finished out at Charleston. Talented kid. If he can put it together, I mean, he has a chance to maybe make a roster. Benjamin, this is, his next chance to try and make an NFL squad. Some people are pretty excited about him, so we'll have to wait and see. But I think, there's some things to watch out for. We got a pretty stacked squad already, but that running back room and the defensive back room are both going to be pretty interesting. And I think I didn't put him on here because I just think Lovett has a really good shot of being able to make the team as long as he comes in good shape and plays really hard. All right, thanks for watching, everybody.